We got a big, huge movie star.
Yes.
Waiting to come in.
Absolutely.
Why is he still sitting out there?
I know.
Why are you still sitting out there?
Get this
You're like, what?
Gunny.
Gunny.
Bring in Gunny. Here he is.
Hoorah!
Hoorah! Here's Gunny.
How's everybody doing this morning?
Great. Fantastic now.
I'm proud of you guys. Satellite radio is the rage of the age. I have it in both of my cars. And
what are you on? What kind of cars?
Wouldn't trade it for anything.
What kind of cars? You got the Willys?
I'm rich and I've never bought a new car in my life. I'm just too conservative.
Is that it?
I have an 86 Mercedes SEC that I'm customizing, and it's I have another 450 SL Mercedes that's a 77.
Yeah. Wow.
But I like the old cars.
You like the older ones?
The new ones are all plastic. You know that.
What do you listen to on XM?
Everything.
Everything?
Everything.
You check out Dylan's show yet?
Don't know. You have to understand that my time in the car is pretty limited, you know, and it's from L.A. I live in Palmdale, west of Palmdale, not in the desert. And
why would he listen to that goddamn hippie?
So what I generally tune into is drive time talk political shows,
right,
because I need to stay abreast of what's going on politically.
Yeah, I love watching Mail Call. It's one of my favorites.
It's one of my favorites too.
Letters, but you get to do some stuff that dream come true.
It's the coolest job in the world. I was telling the guys out there in the green room just a while ago that Monday I spent the entire day down in Tennessee flying a P-51 Mustang and dogfighting and doing barrel rolls, and it was a 1945 vintage P-51.
Wow.
What a fantastic day! A Mail Call episode.
Nothing came up.
Absolutely not. I don't do that.
You don't throw up?
No, you didn't throw up. It's all mind over matter. I don't blow chunks. You know, it would be an embarrassing situation if I did. I've done the F-15. I've done, so many different airplanes and every helicopter in the military's arsenal. And if I blew chunks, that
would be embarrassing.
They wouldn't invite me back.
No, we got to introduce you to Bob Kelly, because this guy. All you have to.
Hi, Bob.
All you have to say is whatever, and he'll puke.
Yeah, he's got a weak stomach.
Worst.
I did the Mustang in California for $1,000. Marine pilots will take you up 6,000 feet and give you the stick. And Torgasm.
There you go.
Yeah. That was the plane you flew in Torgasm?
Yeah, you basically, they go ahead. I mean, they're still there.
Of course they're there.
You're just doing
in your case, I wish they would have jumped out with a chute.
It's easy to fly, though.
It's very easy to fly, but literally at 6,000 feet, he goes, you do this to the stick, the plane goes like that, and you don't puke. When you come back level and you see the horizon and you're still doing this after doing 4 Gs, I threw up twice. I filled up both bags.
No.
They changed my call sign to snacks to 2 bags.
Now you know why they charge $1,000. It probably cost half that to get somebody to clean the mess up.
Clean the chunks out of the.
My wife is prone to seasickness, car sickness. You can't even drive across a bridge without her getting sick.
No,
I got sick in a Chinook when I went to Iraq to do some comedy, and they take you up in the Chinook helicopters, I think they're called, with the 50 cals in the window, the open.
It's old school. I'm sure Gunny spent enough time in some Chinooks.
Chinooks, the 46 is my favorite, the OCH 46. It's being replaced right now with the Osprey.
Hey, you see what's going on here, by the way? Bob Kelly's trying to make his puking sound cool.
He's trying to toughen up his throwing up in front of Gunny.
I was at 6,000 feet.
You saw a woman that
you throw up like a man, right?
Let me explain, though. This week alone, we had a fat girl come in with a hernia sticking out of her belly button. He puked.
Yeah, he threw up when he looked at it.
Yeah,
I don't know. I might kind of have a little problem with that myself.
It was a hernia. You could see the food pulsating through.
Oh, beautiful.
I actually saw her twin. Her twin winked at me through the hernia.
It's like watching a horror show. Speaking of horror shows.
Yeah. She is a professional. Yep.
We have Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning, coming out this Friday. Next Friday. on the 6th, and as you know,
remake that was great.
The remake was great. I was a little skeptical about doing the remake because the first one was such a kick butt deal, you know, and I was a little nervous about that. And I read the script, and we actually were able to make a better movie than the original movie, so it turned out great. And then he came up with the proposition that we should do a prequel. And I was extremely skeptical about that simply because almost every prequel that you see or sequel that you see is riding on the coattails of the original, which was a fantastic show. And then the studios throw together a bunch of crap and expect to shove it down your throat. And you can't stand to sit through more than about 15 or 20 minutes before you leave the theater.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that I was giving creative license, and we were able to just make it better and better and better. The script was good to begin with, but before we did each scene, every morning when I would come in, I would sit down with the director and the producers and whichever other actors might be in the scene. We would put on the table everything that we had, and we would throw ideas back and forth until we thought we had the scene as tight and as good as we could possibly make it. Then we shot it.
Look at you.
I think, and they tell me that the show is better, and I watched it. I've seen it 3 times, and I'm here to tell you that the remake, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning is better than the remake was.
I heard that too.
Now here. Yeah,
that's the buzz on the. I read a bunch of stuff on the internet about it, like this week actually. And
it's really gruesome.
It said it's better than the first one they just did. Yeah,
a little bit. Well, it's hard to clean up you got somebody with a chainsaw. It's a little rough cleaning that mess up.
The idea of a prequel is pretty good too, to see where you guys came from and how you got so screwed up.
What we do is, in the remake, we had Uncle Monty in his little wooden wheelchair cruising around with no legs. How did that happen?
Yeah,
what happened to Uncle Monty's legs? And the Sheriff Hoyt, my character, has no teeth in front. His teeth have been knocked out. How'd that happen? Matter of fact, if you want to go there, how in the hell did he ever become a sheriff? This guy's a bit sick, He's a little off the knot there a little bit, but he's crazy as hell. And how did he become a sheriff? And where did Leatherface come from? Did a crow crap him out on a rock and the sun hatch him, or what? I'll tell you where he came from. He came from a female's body, and he was born, and then Sheriff Hoyt took him under his wing and gave him good guidance and leadership. And he turned out to be such a fine.
He didn't take him under a porch when it started raining out?
He was a very protected, guarded individual.
Now, because
he was special.
I just got to ask you about a little bit of your history and stuff. How did you get into acting? What went from the military to acting? How did
11 years in the Marine Corps. I was a grunt. I was an instructor most of my tenure in the Marine Corps, and got hurt in Vietnam, got retired out. I kept showing up for work, but they did retire me, and I've been with the Marine Corps for 45 years. I'll be with the Marine Corps till I die. I've been to the Far East or the Middle East 3 times, 2 weeks at a time. The Marine Corps gives me a couple of helicopters and CH-46 as a rule, and off into the combat zone I go. I wear the uniform, the flak jacket, Kevlar helmet.
I've seen on Mail Call and other shows where you're in the Middle East, you're with the troops, and are you surprised and flattered of the respect that you get from these soldiers? Because you do.
No, I've earned that respect. I'm part of the Marine Corps. I take great pride in serving. I'll never let them down. I'll always be there for them. Nothing quite like jumping up on the hood of a Humvee out in the middle of the combat zone and getting the troops to laugh at your corny jokes,
The way they treat you, though, is like you got stars on your shoulders. That's how they like you.
I don't know. Because everybody knows me. I spend about 200 days a year with the military, and so these guys all know me, and they respect me because I treat them as they should be treated, with respect. And how did I get started? I found myself retired, standing outside the gate of the Marine Corps recruit depot in San Diego with my sea bag at my side, and that's all I owned in this world, thinking, what the hell am I going to do now, because I have no education to speak of. And then I thought, Hollyweird is just up the road, 40 miles. I can go to Hollyweird. I wrote a script, and I was a good instructor. And in order to keep tired recruits, 1,000 recruits awake and laughing at your corny jokes, you got to be pretty on your toes. So anyway, I was a good instructor. I figured, what the heck? I wrote a script. I went to Hollywood and I did the comedy clubs for a year. I was up there doing comedy. And God help the individual that heckled this.
He gets down in his face.
Talk about drive something up the wrong side of your body. Yeah. But that worked out good. And then one of my buddies, and I was sleeping on people's couches, and YMCA was good. But and I didn't even have a car. Couldn't afford a car. But a friend of mine told me, hey, Gunny, they're getting ready to do Vietnam War shows over in the Philippines. So I was single. I packed my gear and packed up my little sea bag and jumped on space available at George Air Force Base and went back to the Philippines, met the right people, and got involved.
And that
rest of it's history.
And that movie was...
Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, of course it was.
You're talking Full Metal Jacket.
Of course it was.
That was film number 5, by the way.
Was it?
That was film number 5, and in a previous film I had taken, I was technical advisor.
Oh, Boys in Company C.
Yeah.
I think it was before.
Boys in Company
that was
C,
before.
Purple Heart, Siege of Firebase Glory, it goes on. But I was able to take a role away from an actor, and they put him on the airplane, sent his young tail back to Hollywood, and I did his shtick.
Must have been very
so
impressed.
I knew you could take roles away from actors.
Now, since you weren't an actor walking into that, but you'd done stand-up, wasn't that just a one-shot of you going around the troops at the beginning, giving your speech? I don't remember seeing a cut, and you had a lot of dialogue there.
Want to hear it?
Don't doubt.
I'll give you the clean version.
No, you can satellite.
Oh, you're okay with the bet?
You can say
anything you want to
whatever
say.
you want.
Okay, this is not family related.
No.
It gets nasty. Okay, here you go. I am Gunnery Sergeant Ermey. I am your senior drill instructor. From now on, you will speak only when spoken to. The first and last words out of your filthy sewers will be, sir. Do you maggots understand that?
Yes, sir.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you've got a pair.
Yes, sir.
If you ladies leave my island, if you survive recruit training, you will be a weapon. You will be a minister of death praying for war. But until that day, you're pukes. You're scumbags. You're the lowest form of life on earth. You're not even human fucking beings. You are nothing but a lot of little unorganized grabastic pieces of civilian shit. My orders are to weed out all non-hackers who do not pack the gear to serve in my beloved Corps. There is no racial bigotry here. Here we do not look down on niggers, kikes, wops, or greasers. Here you are all equally worthless. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
That's your stairway to heaven. That's his stairway to heaven.
Oh, yeah.
That's the first time I've done that in about a year.
I was going to ask. To see you do that, though, live is like, Zeppelin. Watching Led Zeppelin do Stairway.
Yeah.
My favorite line in the entire movie was something that I came up with. I lost my way, and I'm not the type of guy that will just stop. I'll continue until I get back on track and then finish the scene. But my favorite line came out of nowhere, and it was, "You look like the kind of person that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around. I'll be watching you." And Stanley Kubrick jumped off the camera truck and said, "Lee, what's a reach around?" Use your imagination, Stanley.
Poor Stanley.
But that was a tremendous show. I loved doing that show, and I wrote most everything that I did in the show.
Yeah.
And Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was allowed to do a lot of ad-libbing. So the first time I did the sheriff in the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there really wasn't anything written for the sheriff. So I had to basically come up with almost everything that we did. And it got to the point where we would do the scene the way that it was written. Then the director would say, "Okay, Lee, you do one." And they would let me do mine. And it was always mine that showed up in the show.
Well, that's what people want to see, That's what they want to see out of you.
Worked out great. And I got to tell you guys, if the beginning, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning wasn't better than the last one, I would not be sitting here, okay? I recommend it. It's a great show.
Great, man.
Bring your barf bag. It's a bit hard.
Yeah, there you go. That's for you.
We had over a $15 million budget, and they tell me half of that was spent on stage blood.
Now, is it
Nice and gruesome. Good.
I know it's gruesome, but is it scary? I mean, is it like Leatherface was like, oh man, this guy's coming.
There's a couple things that really bother us psychologically. One is we would never want to be eaten by an animal such as a white shark or a tiger.
Right.
You know, you'd be attacked and eaten by an animal. That sucks.
Pretty horrific.
That really sucks. Yeah, and the other thing is being cut by a damn chainsaw.
Yeah.
No, just the sound of that thing cranks up. And,
yeah, you know it's not a clean wound.
No, it's a ripping thing. You know, a chainsaw had been cutting wood. It's not sharp.
No. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing it because the first one, like I said, was great.
You know what else is scary though? A man with a badge who's psychotic. That's what scares me. A cop, because you know, as soon as you see him, you trust him. That's a cop. You're going to save me. But then to find out he's a fucking lunatic.
And he could do what he wants with impunity.
And he's bringing to his creepy son.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, I'm fucked.
My guy, the sheriff, is, I think Sheriff Hoyt is the second most favorite part that I've ever done.
Really?
I really enjoy him. You know, I take every role that I do, and I've done 75 feature films, and every role that I've ever done, every character, I always push it to the limit. I try to get it right up where he doesn't go over the edge, but he's right up to the limit. Mm-hmm. Nothing aggravates me more than a director saying, take it down, bring it down a couple of notches, and less is more, which we know is a crock of shit. Less is not more. I don't know who came up with that, but they're full of crap.
Guy with a small dick.
Yeah, I guess that's somebody who's sexually insecure. There you go.
The guy you're stealing the scene from.
But this guy with the big one knows where to go, you know. And the beautiful thing about Sheriff Hoyt is, God, he's a sexually perverted homicidal maniac. There is no over the damn top with this guy, and they just let me go berserk, and I have a great time doing him. He's fun.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Can we ask about your ring?
Yeah, I'm looking at that diamond. I can't take my eyes off.
That would be the mother of all Marine Corps rings.
Wow, yeah.
I went to my old ring I wore on my right hand. That's my change pocket, and I wore the emblem off of it over the years. And about 10 years ago, my wife asked me what I'd like for Father's Day. And I said, well, I pretty much need a new ring. We looked all over the PXs and couldn't find, they were the common, usual, not so cool rings. Mm-hmm. And so I sat down and I made a couple of sketches and gave her a pat on the butt and sent her off to the jewelry store, and she had this guy make this thing. It turned out a little bit larger than what I had in mind on paper.
I thought you were a rapper.
It's the Super Bowl ring of the Marine Corps.
Yeah. For you're bigger than life, you ought to have a big ring.
But if you're secure in your masculinity, a man can wear jewelry, you know.
That's true.
How many carats? I don't want to see a diamond.
That's 4 carats.
Oh, wow.
But it didn't just, it wasn't
the jeweler's
born.
loop out of your eye, Rich.
It wasn't born being 4 carats. It was actually, when it originally was made, it was a half carat. And then every year, every Father's Day thereafter, my wife would take it down to the jewelry store and kick it up a notch, you know? And I do the same for her. So it was an investment, basically.
Yeah.
Over 10 years, it's evolved into a 4-carat diamond from a half a carat.
Do you have kids? Do you have kids?
Well, you could call them kids. They're old kids. They're all over 20.
Imagine him being your dad, though. Having to wake up, you're late for school in the morning. I don't want to go. Get your
just fucked up, boy.
Look,
that's worse like Great Santini.
Like it's yesterday.
Yeah.
The Great Santini done it so much better than I did, though. You know, I was kind of a failure when it come to being a father, simply because I was just gone all the time. And so I would come home. I would be home for a few days, just long enough to get him squared away, get the baggy pants off the boy, and get the skateboard away from him, and the next thing, you know, I'd be on the airplane going away. I'd come home, and the wife would have taken him shopping by then, and he had all brand new baggy pants, you know. She was a pushover, and I was the disciplinarian, but problem was the disciplinarian was always gone.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do?
Did you make him cut his hair? Did he have to have a short haircut?
They were pretty neat up until probably when they were 16, 17 years old, and the hair is growing. My son has a lot of hair right now, and I point that out to him occasionally.
Yeah.
He has too much hair.
Doesn't seem like you're very happy about it.
Yeah, but so be it. You know, it doesn't do anything. He obviously he doesn't have enough respect for me to go cut his hair. So one of these days I'll have to come home with a couple of big guys, take him down and just cut the dog shit out of his butcher his ass, you know. Teach him a lesson.
Yeah, I hear you.
I'm sure that will work just great.
Wow.
He'll love me forever.
Yeah, don't hold back, man. You
Right.
can speak freely.
Did you hate? I mean, after you were done doing stand-up, were you glad? I mean, compared to acting, I mean, did you just hate the world around stand-up?
More money.
Yeah.
A lot more money. That's the only difference. I love doing stand-up. It's fun. And it's instant recognition, gratification.
Yeah, Rich.
And
what was better, a Chuckle Hut or Full Metal Jacket?
No.
Well, you know,
No.
Well, the thing is, the movies go on and on and on, you know, and like Full Metal Jacket, you know, we did that 20 years ago.
I know, it's amazing.
And it still goes strong today. There's not a day goes by where I don't sign a number of copies of Full Metal.
Yeah.
I did a thing for the troops called Full Metal Comedy. Where I went over there.
Oh,
You just compared yourself.
are you insane?
Compare yourself to a legend, you fucking blimp. How dare go puke in the bathroom, you jackass.
Put your midget hand down.
Okay.
Don't point at me with that finger. You use your elbow if you're going to point at me.
No
I
discipline
have
in
a
here.
concept to throw up to you here.
Yeah.
See what your opinion is. Now, we've done 2 Texas Chainsaw Massacres. Probably are. Chances are we will do a sequel to the prequel. And I was thinking, you know, right in the middle of the last show, I was starting to dribble and droodle and write and think about ideas. I think a huge, tremendously successful show would be a spoof on Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was thinking about I would name it. It would be a comedy musical, and I would call it New York Hacksaw Manicure. You know, could you just imagine?
All right, who's going to do it?
Sergeant, you can imagine Sheriff Hoyt and Leatherface up there dancing around like a couple of fairies. You know, what happened? You start at the.
Why don't you yell at him, boss? You angry little Jew. Yell at him.
First of all,
He just said something about a manicure.
So he made the right decision with acting. But here's the thing: he could take that ring and put a dent in my head if he
And he
wanted
should.
to right now.
And he should.
The other day, a fly. I was watching news in the hotel room, and there was a damn fly, and it landed on my head. And not even thinking, I hit that fly, and it nearly knocked me out. I saw stars for about a minute after that. You know? But this ring is a lethal weapon. I have to be very careful with that. You know.
God damn. Well,
my point was with that thing is that back then you say now comics make more money now. Because if you go, actors are actually turning into comics.
Dane
Cook
makes more money now.
You know how much money
Stop
he'd
with
make
comics.
doing stand up if he could fill a club. I mean, he'd make $30,000 a night.
But it's only the few. You know, it's only the few. It's the Eddie Murphys and the Whoopi Goldbergs, and it's like, you know, only a few of the comics really do make the big bucks.
No,
all the rest of them are stuck on Saturday Night Live making $150 a week.
No,
I mean,
that's my
back
point.
in the old days, there was no money. I got paid $100 a stand up when I was doing stand up.
And what do you make, Rich?
Where was that? That's good.
$100
to stand up. Are you who are you talking to? I'm Rich Voss.
Do you know Rich Voss? Do you know Rich Voss from Last Comic Standing?
From Last Comic Standing, or Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn?
Yes, I watch.
Yeah.
Do you know him from it?
If you seriously, if you recognize, just walking the street, me or him, who do you think you would recognize more? Me or?
I wouldn't recognize either one of them.
Good answer. Thank God.
You, sir.
And I'm so glad Norton isn't here. I'm so glad Jimmy Norton isn't here because it would upset me if you did recognize Jimmy. And Jimmy is a big fan.
The tough part is, you know, there's a lot of actors that are doing singing now. You know, they're going to singing. Of course, if you have a hit record, you make money. Mm-hmm. But you can sing all damn day and not have a hit record, and you're not going to make beans. You know, it's like writing that book. You first of all have to make back the $35,000 advance they gave you before you make a penny. Well, I wrote a book about 3 years ago, and the advance is all I saw.
That was it?
That was it, you know, and it's a good book, and they sold a bunch of copies, but it's got to be Harry Potter, you know, in order to make money on it.
What was it about?
Called Mail, Called the Book. And I took a bunch of the old scripts, and I hate to waste my time, and I'm sitting on the airplane 5 hours going from L.A. to New York, and from New York to L.A. and Seattle and Washington, D.C., and I'm wasting my time. So I got all the old scripts from Mail Call, and I went back, and all the research was done already. So I went back, and I just did a book.
Yeah.
I wrote a book and changed everything, of course, as far as dialogue and the way it works. But pictures, put some pictures in there, and I wrote a book, and they've sold thousands of copies. I know I've done book signings, and I've sold at least 10,000 copies of the book.
But you didn't see...
no, I haven't seen a dime. You got to sell a million.
You need a biography.
Wow. And the biggest problem is with these actors that are going into, like, stand-up, for instance, okay? It should be the other way around, because from stand-up, you go into acting, and there's where the big bucks is. Unless you are the main guy on the ticket, you don't make any money. You get the audience warmed up. As well as I do. You've been there, did that.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah,
you go and warm up the audience for Eddie Murphy, and what do you get? You get $250, $300,
and the fat chick.
Yeah, and the fat chick. That's it. But the fat drunk chick.
You should definitely write a book, a biography.
Yeah, biography.
You're in Vietnam, you said, right?
Well, I'm going to write a biography, but I'm not done yet. God.
Yeah, I know, right? He's not
so
done.
young. I want to wait until I get old.
Don't you want to have the money?
No, then I want to sit around and write a book,
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question?
I want to wait. Actually, I want to wait until my dad dies, because I have a lot of really filthy, nasty things to say about him, and I don't want to have to do it while he's still alive.
He's worried about his dad, not his wife or his kids.
You can tell one story for us.
You gotta have something.
No, my dad had me totally convinced when I was a kid that I thought my name was stupid. Until I went in the Marine Corps, and they pointed out the fact that my first name was Ronald, my middle name was Lee, and last name was Ermey. I thought it was just stupid.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, he had all of us totally. I mean, you don't call yourself, "Hey, idiot, come here." Well, that's my father, okay, in his drunken stupor. So it was like, that's what I put up with, and that's what I was convinced by the time I got in the Marine Corps, that I was a total loser, a total idiot. And thank God for my 3 drill instructors. They pulled me out of that ditch, cleaned me off, and hosed me down and put me in the right direction, and convinced me that there wasn't much in this world that I couldn't accomplish if I set my mind to it.
Is that what drove you into the Corps? Like your
I was in the Marine Corps the day I was 17. I was on the bus, man. I was getting the hell out of Dodge. Yeah, I grew up on a farm in Kansas, a little farm, and my dad was an alcoholic tyrant, and he had 6 boys. That might have a little something to do with why he was an alcoholic tyrant. 6 boys. Ooh, can you imagine? 1 year apart. I guess Mom and he didn't figure out what caused that, until it was way too late. 6 kids later, they figured out how that happens. So, and on the farm back in the early 50s, we didn't have electricity. So, well, hell, when it got dark, you went to bed. Well, what do you do when you go to bed? You make babies, right? So he's got to have some entertainment. Didn't have TV back in those days.
It's just screwing is all you had to do.
That's it. Just go screw your brains out.
Wow.
Just go to bed. Come on, baby, let's go to bed.
Make another baby.
Yeah, my first wife was, oh, Jesus, again? Didn't we just do this last week? Excuse me.
We have
but are
television.
You abnormally oversexed? Jeez, baby. Yeah.
Do you talk to your father now?
My dad's okay. He and I can't be in the same room for much more than 10 or 15 minutes. He and I believe we're differently politically. We're different. He is one of these Democrats that is totally 100% a Democrat, and I don't have a problem with that. But what I do have a problem with is why are you a Democrat? I asked him, you can ask him who is the president of the United States. He can't tell you. He don't know who the vice president is. He voted for the Democrat on the ticket. He can't tell you who what that guy's name was, and he can't tell you what he believed in or what he stood for. All he knows is that back in the 50s, the Democrats were union men, and he's a union man, and the reason he got decent pay when he worked for for the railroad was because they went on strike and the Democrats backed them up, the unions, and
Wow.
For as far as he's concerned, he goes into the booth, the voting booth. He and his wife is instructed, and she's a yes lady. And they go in and they punch everything with a D beside it. They will not listen to if they see something. A political person on TV that might be talking about, I'm running for president and I would like to have your vote and this is what I stand for. Blink, he changes the channel. He didn't want anything to do with that.
How
crap.
old a gentleman is he now?
He's 82 and he's not a gentleman. Don't
82.
make that mistake.
Okay. I was being respectful.
No.
I'm an ass.
No sense in being respectful. He's okay, but he and I get along fine now because I can kick his ass. But it was a hard time growing up, and I was number 2. I had an older brother, and then I was number 2, and number 2 is always the guy that sucks hind tit, eats the shit. And I was the guy that it was always my fault,
Did you ever have that moment with your father where you finally crossed over, like you've been in the Corps for a while and did you visit and then show him like, listen, motherfucker?
No, I had to beat him at
and
arm wrestling.
Was that it?
Yeah, that was the only way I got the upper hand.
I was picturing some big dramatic scene of you taking your hat off and, come on, hit me.
Yeah, when I pinned him, and then I looked him straight in the eyes and said, and now you have some kind of an idea about what I might be able to do to you if you fuck with me anymore, you cocksucker.
Oh,
wow. Uncomfortable.
But
Everybody looks away.
But he came around. Dad's not a bad guy. I get along okay with Dad now, but we have an understanding. I have my beliefs. He has his beliefs. I grew up in a Democratic family, but I'm an independent.
Yeah.
I don't really agree with everything that the Republicans do, and I certainly don't agree with what the Democrats do. But I'm one of those guys that I've remained independent so that I can look at the individual, and I make up my mind, by listening to what his ideas are, and I want to vote for the guy that's going to do the best thing he can for this country. Mm-hmm. What's pissed me off here lately is the Democrats and the Republicans. That seems to me like they've evolved into a situation where they vote for what's good for the party, not what's good for you and I or America, and that bugs me.
Well, I just heard about the senatorial vote on. It was the bill for the prisoners.
Now isn't that sweet?
Now,
what are we supposed to do? They've
exactly.
got color TV and air conditioning.
I know.
And come on, Playboy magazines. What more do they need? And we need to tie up these loose ends.
Yep.
I mean, you can't keep them in Gitmo for the rest of for the next 100 years.
There was a Democrat. Don't remember the state or the name because I heard it on the way in. Who actually voted for this bill. So during the next election, his competitor, the Republican, can't run ads against him saying he, voted down the anti-terrorism bill. He actually voted against what he wanted to do, just so his opponent
other guy wouldn't have
criticize
ammo
him.
to shoot at him. Right?
What the kind of guy? You vote for what you feel is supposed to be right. You think that's what they're doing.
You mean you vote with your heart? Would you be saying something like that?
I would think
some
you would vote. Some stupid thing like that is like perhaps what you feel is best for the people that you're representing.
Yeah. One that cracks me up is Ted Kennedy. I get the biggest kick out of him.
like a pope.
I spent 4 weeks in Iraq. I wore the uniform, the flak jacket, the Kevlar helmet. I was out in the field with the troops in the combat zone. We got stuck in firefights. We had shoulder
Imagine one of these motherfuckers. I'm
RPG
sorry to
shot at us.
Interrupt you for a second though, but could you imagine one of these Al Qaeda motherfuckers who just watched one of his movies, going, "Holy shit, that's the fucking guy." I just got shot by Arlie Ermey.
But anyway, I was over there for 4 weeks, and I come back, and I seen nothing but El Primo morale was just going through the roof. And you have to understand, these kids are re-enlisting at the rate of 70% right now. 70%, 70 out of 100 of these kids that join re-enlist in the Marine Corps. So they re-enlist knowing damn well that they're going to go back to the sandbox and fight this war some more. Mm-hmm. Now, that tells me that they must have tremendous faith in their leadership. And their leadership is George W. Bush and the administration and the generals that are in charge, the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Now, I came back watching these kids. These kids were just fantastic. I mean, they're stepped up to the plate and they're getting the job done. Things are happening over there. Trust me, we are winning this war, big time. And I got back, and the first morning I jump out of the rack and I turn on TV, and here's Ted Kennedy saying, "The morale for our troops is at an all-time low in Iraq." And you know what? I didn't see Kennedy over there any place when I was there. And here he was. All I saw was great morale. And all I hear from this jerk is morale is at an all-time low. You know, if it was going to be at an all-time low, that would be exactly why right there, because, you know, one unit doesn't have any idea what the morale's like 50 miles away in another unit. It may be at an all-time low as far as this unit knows. So Ted Kennedy, somebody of authority in our government, a high prestigious individual, comes on and they hear him saying morale's at an all-time low. The troops are thinking, gosh, maybe my unit's the only unit in Iraq that has great morale. Maybe everybody else's morale is at an all-time low. My God, maybe we should get our morale under control and get it back down where it should be.
Well, I hope our military wouldn't listen to Ted Kennedy with much
well, you know, but it's our elected officials, these people that are supposed to be, you know, knowledgeable and intelligent and sharp. It seems to me like I'm not real pleased about the administration. I mean, I would have rather had somebody to vote for last time.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
for president.
I'm not happy at all with the way
Nick Romney, I think, is brilliant. Have you listened to any of his stuff?
No.
You know, he's been talking and he's been on TV, and he is the brightest, most squared away, patriotic individual that I have seen in government for years. And I'm thinking Mick Romney might be the guy that we might want to look at next time. Of course, I'm going to have to listen to him a lot longer, you know, and find out some background history. And
that's what people never seem to want to do, is really take a look at both sides or listen to one guy's opinion if it isn't such a staunch party line.
If you don't believe the way they believe, they won't listen to you.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I've of course out in Hollywood, you know, we have a few of those out there that liberal off the deep end. I don't mind.
Barbara Streisand's one of my favorites, who writes on her blog and lives in her gated house, never goes out to see what the real world is all about. Yet she knows what solves everything, how everything should be run.
That's where I'm different. I do get out in the real world.
Yeah,
I spend half my life with the troops.
I take the word of somebody that's been around and under fire with the troops than I will any politician or entertainer.
I found out that you're very polite and you will stand there, independent or a Republican will actually stand there and listen while a deep end, far off the deep end on the left, liberal tells you all about how he feels about it, and this is the way that I see it, and that. And then and you'll listen to him for 5 or 10 minutes doing his thing, and then when it comes your turn to explain how you feel about it, you get about one sentence into your explanation, and they cut you off. They literally will not listen to you. So how can they make an opinion? They can't. You know?
I think we have a problem like that, though, on both sides, with the far right and the far left. I think both sides you get.
I agree, but on the far left, it's worse.
Yeah,
it's worse, and they don't have a lot of common sense. I found that out.
That's
you know what
a lot of the talk shows are gone.
Kill them all. Just kill the bastards, line them up, just dig a big old hole.
You know, as
a matter of fact, we could make something out of them and possibly build that wall down on our southern borders with those bodies. You
with
know,
the bodies of the
nobody want to come near that stench and that fly mess and maggots.
I love this guy.
But you know, that's another thing that cracks me up. Here we are faced with an invasion from the south, and I do mean an invasion. They've closed down all the half of the emergency rooms in Southern California are bankrupt. They've closed them down.
Yeah.
And if you do have a problem, like I had a situation where I had a blood clot and I was paralyzed on the left side, and I went to the emergency room. You realize that out there the illegals are given free medical care only if they go to the emergency rooms. So if they have a cold, they go to the emergency rooms. I took a number. I was number 87. And I sat
Christ.
there and I waited and I waited and I waited, and here was these little Hispanic kids with the sniffles, and that is ridiculous, and we need to do something about it. But I have a solution, and it's the simplest thing in the world. Why not enforce the damn laws that we have on the books that says you can't hire them?
Is anyone asking for anything more that isn't in place already? It's like that's why it's called illegal.
I hear this
illegal
multi-billion-dollar wall thing. What's up with this? I mean, come on. They dig holes, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah.
They have holes that they've dug under the border that are 1,000 feet
huge
long.
Tunnels, yeah.
Yeah, huge tunnels. And do you think a wall is going to stop them from tunneling? What they need to do is, I did a show here last year before last. It was the blimp. And they can take this blimp that they've come up with. It's lighter than air type blimp. You can't shoot them down. You punch a hole in it. It slowly leaks out, and you'll have to bring it home. But it doesn't just crash. Now, they can take these blimps, and they cost about 1/4 or 1/10 of what a helicopter would cost. Plus, a helicopter, it's up there for 3 hours, and it has to come back and get maintenance and refueled. This blimp can go up. You can put 2 crews on it. It can stay up there 3 days. It's got 2 little Piper Cub engines. It burns nothing for gas. You can put all the optical equipment and heat registering, what do they call that? Infrared and all this. And it can see 100 miles in each direction. Jeez. How many would we need, And that's all we really need to do is have somebody up there. We don't need to put more border patrols on. We just need to have that eye in the sky that can be watching day and night. And when they see activity in one certain area, grid of the border, they call and let the Border Patrol know so that the Border Control can come and control it.
Control the border.
But it would be the simplest thing in the world, wouldn't it? And they're talking about this multi-billion-dollar wall. What's this big-ass 40-foot high concrete barrier? That reminds me of there was a similar situation between East and West Berlin, weren't there?
Yeah.
Then we didn't like that, did we?
Very well.
We didn't like that too much.
Well, hopefully they'll consider that idea, the blimp.
The blimp, it's so simple.
Blimp. It's such an old idea, yet it works.
It's put advertising on the side, like
right.
The Super Bowl.
They can sleep in it.
Nike.
The gondola, is huge. You can sleep in it.
Yeah.
There's sleeping quarters, so you can have 2 crews up there and stay up there 2 days in a row. Not like a helicopter, go out for 3 hours and come back, go out and come back. The people jumping across the borders are watching these helicopters. When they leave, they know, well, they're gone for a couple hours now, so we're wide open. Let's go, boys, charge.
Blimp would be quiet.
Yeah, blimp is totally quiet.
I say you fill a few up with hydrogen like the Hindenburg and crash them right into the illegal aliens trying to...
We don't need to do that. But and another thing is enforce the law. We have laws in the books that says you can't hire an illegal alien.
But you can't hire...
You try to go over to another country, say Great Britain or France or any other civilized country.
Why
you go over there and try to get a job.
Would I want to do that?
No, but try it. You can't do
Give it
that.
A try.
They won't let you work,
Yeah, but the Americans won't do the jobs that the Mexicans will do here, though. That's the thing.
No. See, you have that wrong. You've listened to Ted Kennedy too much. He's
my uncle.
He says that the illegals come across and they do the jobs that no Americans will do. But he leaves off the last part. For $2.50 an hour.
Right.
Of course Americans will do those jobs, but not for $2.50 an hour like the illegals will. That's the difference right there. So
Can you just go to a Marine base and get a tank? Could you personally just walk in and go, could I get a tank?
I want to drive.
I could use one. I could probably go on any Marine base that has Abrams A1 battle tanks, and I could probably
let me use one.
Say, could we go for a ride? And they would be more than happy to load it
up.
The fact
maybe
that you
have
a couple
that
of rounds
at your disposal is hysterical. I love it. I love the fact they should just let every illegal know that that's possible. That Arlie Ermey might be somewhere in a tank right now. And then release tapes of this program to them to let them know that you might be out there in a tank.
You know, I have all the respect in the world for the folks that have come over here legally, done the paperwork, and done it right. My son married a Filipina. My wife's a Filipina, and I kind of was wanting him to. I was kind of pushing him in that direction. So he's been going on vacation with his mom for the past few years, and he finally fell in love with a old family friend, and they got married in January. Do you realize that they're still working on her paperwork, and they haven't been able to get her back yet?
Wow.
Now,
and they're married.
And they're married. So here, meanwhile, we have all the illegals flooding on board, and the big question is, do we give them driver's licenses? Do we give them education? Those are already decided things. Of course we do. But how about my son's wife? That's what I'd like.
They have
to know.
tunnels you can get her through.
I should have done that. I should have just brought her to Mexico and just whisked her across the border.
You could probably just get a bunch of, like, some elite squad, rappel down, grab her up, chop her back in.
But it's aggravating. It's just aggravating to know that, you know, we're doing it the legal way because I insist there's no other way as far as I'm concerned. But in the meanwhile, we got all these people that are totally violating our laws the minute they step across our borders. Do you realize that Vicente Fox, of course, has been dumping his garbage in our backyard ever since?
Yep.
He's got a rapist, a 3-time committer. What does he do? He doesn't commit him to prison because then the Mexican government has to feed him.
Yep.
You are going to America, young man.
There you go.
And they escort him up to the border, and he comes over here and rapes a few people over here.
Have our criminals. Our criminals.
They say a good 30% of the people in prison in California are illegal aliens. Come on, give me a break. Why are we supporting it? Why are we putting up with this crap? Let's just raise taxes so we can give them all color TV and personalized in their rooms.
It is aggravating.
It is. It's aggravating. There's so much wrong going on in this country, and it seems like the Democrats and the Republicans, the left and the right, are doing everything they can. They're jockeying for that vote. They want that illegal, that 12 million votes. And they're willing to sell us, the American people, out to get that 12 million votes. And it's disgusting. I'm starting to really get upset with them. But there's some good things, too. You know, the government does a lot of great things. And I'm proud of our government. We do have the best government in the world. I've lived in a lot of foreign countries, and I'll tell you what, give me America and give me this government any day of the week.
Just a few little problems.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And that's what the movie is about.
Right.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
That's what the movie's
Texas
about.
Chainsaw Massacre, guys.
Oh, my God.
But I'm serious about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It's better than the other one, and if you enjoyed the last one, which was a raging success, you need to go see this one. And this one, I get to go totally berserkian. So
I would get the DVD of the first one first, and then go to the movies and see the second.
I would watch
the prequel.
The remake first too, and then you have all these questions. You know, well, how'd this happen? How'd that come about? Whatever happened for this? You know, so I recommend that. But by all means, go and see Texas Chainsaw Massacre on the big screen.
All right.
Very good. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to have you.
Guys, thanks for having me on board. It's been a pleasure being here. Semper Fi. Y'all have a great rest of the day, okay?
Hoorah! No, we're off the air, too. Thank you, Arlie.
Good to go.
All right. Can we all get pictures, or you got to run out of here?
We can get pictures.
All right, cool. Jimmy, ready to get sad?
I don't want to be sad, Opie.
You got to be sad. Let us rub it in.
Hoorah, Semper Fi. This is Gunnery Sergeant Arlie Ermey, United States Marine Corps retired, and you are listening to my pal Little Jimmy Norton, the scumbag El Primo.
There you go, Jimmy. We didn't forget about you.
Oh, that makes me happy.
How great is that?
The scumbag El Primo. Do you know that should be my fucking... Can you get me that? Because that's my outgoing message from now on.
Scumbag
on my phone.
Primo.
Scumbag El Primo.
El Primo.
Hoorah, Semper Fi, do or die, hold them high at 8th and I. This is Gunnery Sergeant Arlie Ermey, and you are listening to my pal Little Jimmy Norton. He is the kind of guy that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reach around. Hoorah!
Leave your message. That's the outgoing message.
Isn't that great?
It's fucking great.
Hoorah! Semper Fi, do or die, hold them high at 8th and I. This is Gunnery Sergeant Arlie Ermey. Hey, you are listening to Opie and Anthony, and you best keep listening. Don't make me come over to your house, knock on your door, drop you down for 25, scumbag.
There you go.
What was he saying? Something high, eighth and high. Like, those guys have such a lyrical way of speaking.
I know.
Thank you for doing that, man. E-Rock or whoever did that. I love it.
We'll
talk to you a little later. After we're done with one of the greatest film characters ever.
Arlie Ermey!
Good morning, girls.
Welcome back to the Opie and Anthony Show, sir.
It's always a pleasure.
Last time you were here, we went deep with you, sir. Talking about your upbringing and everything.
Well, everybody's got a background, everybody's got a history, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have anything to hide.
Do you get sick of Full Metal Jacket, like people questioning you on that, or like when you did other stuff like Mississippi Burning? Do you kind of wish people would concentrate on the other stuff you've done too?
Well, it just seems, and there's no question about it, Full Metal Jacket lives on. The damn film just keeps going. It never stops. It seems like it gets more popular. It's got ups and downs. It's not a day goes by, but what I don't sign a couple of copies of Full Metal Jacket. Warner Brothers told me it sold more film than any film, sold more DVDs and videos than any film they've ever done.
Wow.
So it's a ritualistic film passed from father to son.
We had Matthew Modine was in, and he was saying that we didn't even know that you had a car accident or something as the filming of that was being done.
Right in the middle of the shooting of Full Metal Jacket, I hit some black ice in Epping Forest, coming down a winding road in Epping Forest, and slipped off the road, took out a black walnut tree on the way, and ended up in the middle of a golf course. It totaled the car out and broke 6 ribs, a collarbone, dislocated my hip, and let's see what I guess that's about it. Oh well, it dislocated my shoulder, my right shoulder as well.
And you were still able to get in there and do the movie?
It took me 2 months. I was on the mend for 2 months, and the first scene that we did when we came back from when we came back to shoot was the obstacle course scene.
Oh.
Beautiful. And the first damn day that I was back, guess what? Vince D'Onofrio pulled a hamstring. Oh, and we were off another goddamn week. And the actors were going out of their minds. They all wanted to go home. They're young guys. They like to be home. So had a major mutiny on our hands, Stanley and I.
Wow.
But it worked out okay, and everybody was happy with the product, and seeing it was certainly worthwhile. Hey guys, the good folks at the History Channel came to me with a project, good idea here earlier this year. I want to talk about it. Okay, it's Take a Vet to School Day.
Yeah, Take a Veteran to School. It's on. It's going to be on the History Channel, right?
Well, it's not a show. It's not a program. Okay. It is a program that we're offering to the schools, and about 200 schools are signed up so far to Take a Vet to School Day, and all it simply entails is taking a veteran, asking a veteran to come to your classroom and talk to the kids, tell them his stories. I was a bit skeptical when they first came to me with the idea, and so I went up to Las Vegas, and I got the third graders in Las Vegas together, and I gave them a little talk, and I was happy to find out, by the way, that about 30% of them were big fans of Mail Call, and most of the rest of them knew me from shows like Toy Stories and The Simpsons and Family Guy and things like that.
This Take a Veteran to School program didn't work very well with Charles Whitman.
Well, Charles had a little bit of a hang-up there.
From that book, Suppository Building, sir.
Charles insisted on bringing his fucking rifle.
He certainly did.
Some of them just can't get there without their rifle. They just got to have their rifle. But
outstanding.
Our veterans will not bring their rifle.
No.
These are level-headed very intelligent veterans. Anyway, I talked to the kids in the third grade up at Las Vegas, and then after I finished my little spiel, I opened it up for questions, and I was expecting a sprinkling of hands when I asked for questions, but almost every hand in the auditorium went up, so they were very enthusiastic about it. I had one kid that asked me a question about his uncle had been in Somalia. Could I explain that to him? Another kid, a bunch of kids actually asked questions about Vietnam. How come people spit on the veterans and the soldiers when they came back from Vietnam? How come the war was so unpopular? I was able to explain to them that the media was doing exactly what the communist liberal media was doing exactly what they were doing now, and they were lying to the American people, and they had the American people convinced that we were losing the war in Vietnam, that we were losing, we were sending young men over to die. For no reason, for no good reason. And the liberal media, by the way, is doing that again right now. But anyway, these veterans are falling by the wayside, boys, and we're losing the World War II veterans and Korean veterans by the droves now. And we need to go and taking great stories to the graves with them. So why not, for show and tell, take a vet to school?
That's a pretty cool idea.
It works, Opie and Anthony, it works for the vets, too. It makes them feel better.
Of course.
Makes them feel needed. You know, they get to air their feelings. But anyway, it works both ways. It's a good program.
Arlie, I got a question for you off the subject, which we will.
Absolutely.
I just reading something here, and it's very interesting to me, and I didn't know it. It said you did study drama at the University of Manila in the Philippines, and it said that Coppola cast you in Apocalypse Now while filming in the area?
But, yeah.
What did you do in Apocalypse Now?
I was a helicopter pilot.
Yeah, I did not fucking know that.
That's because I'm young and handsome back then.
But you're actually...
I had jet black hair. I was built like a stud.
What scene are you in? Are you in when they're playing Shall We Dance? Is that this...
I was a helicopter pilot while they... where... Duvall was talking about Charlie Don't Surf.
Right.
It was my chopper, and I flew in and blew up a bridge where there was a car crossing the bridge.
I remember that.
Yeah. So and I was also assistant technical advisor of the show.
Oh my God.
So I was involved with that show. Apocalypse Now is not one that I'm very proud of, because every Vietnam veteran in the world hates the Apocalypse Now, because it made us look like a bunch of real nitwits to the dopers and druggies and idiots, you know. However, I was there, and I did need a paycheck, and so I was on board.
I love Mail Call. It's a great show.
We're changing that around. We're the History Channel there again came to me about last of '06, and said we need to make some adjustments. It's a good show, but we've got 100 episodes in the can. When cable channels get 100 episodes of a show in the can, it's time to start looking around for something else. So we're shooting in HD now. We're shooting 1-hour shows. We have changed the format around a little bit, made some adjustments. It's and we have now named it Trigger Time, and it's a nice dressed up version of Mail Call is all it is.
And you're still gonna blow some shit up, right?
Oh, we're gonna blow shit up that you wouldn't believe. Absolutely.
That's what I like seeing.
Yeah, our thoughts are if you can't drive it, fly it, shoot it, you blow it up. Plain and simple. I mean, come on.
One of my favorites was when you were in the tank, driving the tank around and running over the watermelons, I think.
Yeah, that was fun. They actually set the watermelons up the first time, and I actually made it all the way through the obstacle course of watermelons without breaking any. Mm-hmm. And And so the next trip around, my director-producer, Rob Lahani, my director-producer and friend, Rob Lahani, said, "That wasn't very interesting, Gunny. Why don't you run over them?" And I said, "Well, shit, okay. That's what I'll do." And that time when I came through, I maneuvered to the point where I ran over about half of them, I think. Then I ran through a stack of straw.
Yeah.
It was an interesting day. That was one of our, that was one of our very first shows. You've been watching for quite a while.
Oh, for a long
about
time.
5 years ago.
Watch you drive that Jeep across that lake with the tarp. And,
we sunk that Jeep, you know.
Yeah.
We accidentally sunk it. That was supposed to come off without a hitch, and we got ready to pull that. It was a lake out in just a few miles from the house here, and we got ready to come out, and we took the tires. The tarp, we put it in 4-wheel drive, and the bank was a little bit steep, and of course it was wet and slippery. So when I started coming up the bank, what happened was the damn front tires wrapped the canvas up around the tires, and it killed the engine. And then the shit started slowly sliding back into the damn lake, and we sunk the damn Jeep. Oh, well, shit happens, right?
Yeah, all the time.
Hey, Arlie, do you have any East Coast plans, too? Because I'm Jim. I'm in the studio a lot, but when you came in, I was away, and I'm very annoyed.
Oh, well.
I'm very hurt.
Next time, you're going to have to be a bit more prompt, aren't we, Jim?
Well, no, I was out of town. I was in Pittsburgh. I wish I wasn't.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
Okay. You were out taking care of other business.
Oh, yeah, I was working.
Yeah,
Okay.
he missed Arlie.
You were prostituting yourself in Pittsburgh. What the hell were you doing in Pittsburgh anyway?
I'm a stand-up comedian, so I was fucking in a mediocre fashion trying to entertain people, and I was very
I've done that myself. I went into that. I did most of the comedy clubs in L.A. before I decided to do movies.
Oh, we got a comedian.
You did stand-up?
Yeah, I did stand-up.
Laugh, you twinkle-toed communist cocksucker!
I did any fucking thing to make a buck. I was starving. Marine Corps retired me, and my retirement check was humble, and you couldn't live on it. So I had to figure something out. And I didn't have a good education, so I went up to L.A. and I wrote a script, and I started doing the comedy clubs. I did it for about a year.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember any of the jokes you told back in the day? I would love to hear one.
No, I just told stories about my experiences, you know?
Yeah. Did the crowds like them?
Huh?
Did the crowds enjoy them?
Oh, yeah, I got some laughs. The guys had me back. I mean, I was pretty popular. I was doing really good, you know? And then one night a buddy, but I was still living in the YMCA, and my buddy came and told me, "Hey, Lee, guess what? They're shooting Vietnam War shows. They're going to shoot them over in the Philippines. You should go try it out." And so I packed my humble little sea bag, went down to George Air Force Base, which is local here, and I flew over to the Philippine Space Available and got involved. Yes.
Now, is this
and
you were
next
doing?
Thing you know,
I'm sorry. When were you doing comedy? Was this the late 70s?
it was early 70s.
Oh wow, man!
1971, 72.
You were doing stand up in 70s. How great! Did you ever see I guess you did the Comedy Store on Sunset?
And I guarantee you nobody heckled me.
No.
Yeah, right.
Did you remember seeing guys like Pryor or anybody else like that work out?
Yeah, I knew most of the guys.
Wow.
How cool was that?
That's something.
That is amazing. I had no idea.
Yeah, they weren't even very famous back in those days, you know.
Sure.
But anyway, it was cool. It was an interesting experience, and it was basically a step in my life, a stepping stone for me, and it really paid off, and it worked out. And if you watch shows like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I write most of my own stuff, and I rewrite everything. If there's no goddamn jokes, boys, I got to rewrite. You know.
Well, there was a beautiful, funny, even in Full Metal Jacket, there was such a liquid delivery. It was really perfect, and it was funny in a really like harsh, barbaric way. The dialogue you had.
I wrote all of everything I said in Full Metal Jacket. I wrote.
It was really great.
That's my kind of stuff. It's just that was the kind of stuff that I would do when I was doing the stand-up routine.
The one thing that kills me and Jimmy constantly is how you hold the donut.
Yes.
When you pick it up out of Private Pyle's footlocker, and you're holding it like it's a piece of disgusting shit.
Well, the way I described it was I should hold it as though it were a disease. I didn't want to get it too close to my face.
And you know what was great?
That's perfect.
When you first see it, before the audience sees it, you go, "What the fuck is that?" Like, people think it's going to be an explosive device, and it's a fucking
donut.
But that was funny shit, wasn't it?
Oh, hell yeah.
Hilarious.
I mean, it's kind of a bit dark.
Yeah,
but
a bit.
Extremely funny. I mean, you look like the kind of guy, and this is a line that I came up, and it was my favorite line in the show. And it was, you look like the kind of guy that would fuck a person in the ass and not even have the goddamn common courtesy to give him a reason.
Common courtzy.
That would.
And that's the way drill instructors talked, and they still talk like that. But back in my time, it was more descriptive. You might add. I mean,
sure.
I wrote lines in the show like, "God has a hard-on for Marines." Good Lord, that's so descriptive. You can always almost visualize.
Yeah, Hey, did you ever?
That's really nasty. And I was waiting to get struck dead after I wrote that line, but it didn't happen. God has a sense of humor then.
Hey, did you ever think of doing? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you ever think of doing, because you really have an interesting life, and obviously you're a funny guy, and you can talk about anything, like a one-man show of some sort where you're just kind of sitting there telling stories about your life, whether they're military or about your father? I mean, I think that would be really funny and very interesting.
Well, I want to write the book, and I've never thought about doing the show. Well, I've thought about it, but I just don't think it would be good. But I would have to be animated. It would have to be visual. You know what I'm saying? But I'm going to write the book. But this is not over with yet. I got ways to go yet. Before I write the
He's
book,
not ready.
I have some pretty evil, nasty shit to say about my father. So, I better wait until he dies, I figure,
Yeah, we got
to
alive. Wow.
Cut me out of the will, man. I won't get my share of his $800 that he's got. So, but anyway, I plan on writing a book. Guys, let's get back to my project here.
Take a veteran to school.
Talk about it for just a minute.
Sure. Take a veteran to school.
Take a vet to school, and there's a lot of schools that are signed up out there right now. We've got about 200 nationwide that are signed up for Take a Vet to School. If the kids can't find a vet, I'll find one for them. All they have to do if the school wants to get involved, or if you're a little third grader, fifth grader, whatever, and you want to get involved, all you have to do is go to the computer and go to veteran.com. And it will take you right to the website. The good folks over at the History Channel will be more than happy to send out a little packet that explains everything that you need to know to get involved with this program. Okay, so there we go. I got it out.
Fantastic.
Now we can mess around, guys.
And also, I'm going to give out your website, too. Your website, which has a lot of the information for you on it.
ArleyErmey.com.
Arlee Ermey. Let me spell that for people. It's RLEEERMEY.com. ArleeErmey.com.
Yeah, I'm not one of those actors that hides or keeps a low profile. If you want to find me, you can find me, and generally you can find me in an airport near you, because I travel all the damn time. It seems like I'm on the airplane probably 3 days a week. I'm heading out in a few more days. I'm going to Pittsburgh.
Oh wow!
And we're gonna work with the good folks at the History Channel on the Take a Vet to School Day. Then I come back. I've got one day off, and I head to Okinawa and Japan.
Wow!
I do that every year. I go to Okinawa and Japan, and I speak. And I'm the guest of honor. This year, I'm invited to speak at 15 Marine Corps birthday balls over there. By the way, folks, November the 10th is the Marine Corps birthday. We are 331 years old this year, so make sure you celebrate.
All right. Arlie, hold on one sec. We got Bill from Cleveland on the line. Bill, you're on with Arlie Ermey.
Arlie, you're a great American, and with the story you were just talking, or they were mentioning on the donut in the scene in the movie.
Uh-huh.
We had a similar instance being in basic training. We had a surprise inspection. We had a bit of candy and snacks. One guy put it in his foot locker. He took the rap for everybody. And they just went absolutely ballistic when they found this stuff in his foot locker.
Oh, absolutely. See, most civilians that have never been there and done that really don't understand the importance of diet to a drill instructor. I mean, he's trying to mold and shape these people into finely honed machines, Marines, and here you got this kid that's already a bit overweight. He's a disgusting fat body, and the son of a bitch is sneaking chow into the barracks, and he's trying to slim this guy down. It's a big to do, right?
Oh, absolutely. And once you're removed from it, you can think back and say all that stuff they tried to beat into you was for your own good.
Well, and then you can also see the humor in it after it's over with.
Absolutely.
All right, Bill.
Because, I mean, I owed my drill instructor 1 million step-ups. We had a step-up board outside his Quonset hut, and I owed him 1 million step-ups. And when everybody else sat down for reading and writing period in the evening, I would show up to his doorstep and start doing step-ups. When I left boot camp, I still think I owed him something like 250,000 step-ups. But when you look back on it, you think, wait a minute, here I owed this guy 1 million step-ups. There's no possible way that anybody could ever do 1 million step-ups. Shit, you'd kill yourself. But this guy, that's what he awarded me for what I've screwed up, and he awarded me 1 million step-ups. Holy dog shit. But you look back on it, and you see the humor, and you understand after you finish up and when you look back on it, why the humor was necessary, because the stress of recruit training is so over the top, is so tremendous and so immense that if there isn't some kind of a comic relief there, if there's not some kind of a opening where you can actually let your mind laugh or have a moment of laughter, you're dead. Fuck, you would drive yourself crazy. You know?
Well, you know,
so there's a reason for it, and most drill instructors have great senses of humor. So anybody's poolie that's getting ready to go to boot camp, just remember your drill instructor has a great sense of humor, and tell them, by the way, that you know the gunny and you get special treatment.
You know, it was a great part of that too is when you said, "Chow, are you allowed to eat jelly donuts?" And Private Pile tried to explain it, because you said, why not? And he said, because I'm too heavy, sir. And you hit him with, because you're a disgusting fat body. But he tried to soft soap it. I plumped up a bit in recent weeks.
Another thing that you look back on and it always cracked me up, it was a compliment from the drill instructor, because drill instructors don't compliment any damn body, right? But a compliment from a drill instructor is like when Private Pile was actually, they realized that he could actually hit the target, he could actually hit the bullseye.
Mm-hmm.
And the drill instructor came up and said, well, we finally found something that you can do, didn't we, Private Pile? You're not as fucked up as I thought you were. Well, right then the private's chest puffs up, and he's all proud. That is a compliment from the drill instructor. You're not as fucked up as I thought you were.
Yeah. You're still shit, but you're not as much shit as I thought you were.
I want that hit so spotless, spick and span, spotless and squared away that the Virgin Mary herself would be proud to go in there and take a dump. Now,
exactly.
Period.
That's another one of those visual things.
Yeah.
You know? Oh boy! But Full Metal Jacket was just full of stuff like that, and that's what set Full Metal Jacket aside from all the other shows of that era. And I was given the gift of rewriting the show with Stanley Kubrick, Stan the Man. And I in my mind, I was saying, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. This is the opportunity of my lifetime, and I better not screw this up. And we worked hard on this show.
Well,
but it really paid off, guys.
Who would have known better than you? Absolutely. Arlie Ermey, thanks so much, man, for giving us a call. And remember, take a veteran to school.
Hey, it's always fun to play with you guys. I always love it when I come on. So, thank you very much for, God bless you. We couldn't ever get the word out if it wasn't for good, conscientious citizens like you guys.
Well, like the caller said,
your airways, so we could do this, know. So, thank you very much for helping us pass the word on this. I think it's a great program. I think it has tremendous merits. I think that the youth of this country, across this country, need to know history. If they don't, we're destined to repeat history. So let's let the vets go into the schools and let's let them tell the kids their stories.
Absolutely.
These are smart vets now. They know how to gear their little talk to 12th graders, and they can talk.
I'm going to go in there and just start talking about raking people into pieces with their 50 cals.
Cutting their heads off and shit.
Horrifying them.
These are veterans that actually can adjust, and they know how to answer the young people's questions, and they don't swear either.
I'll be right back.
These are cleaned up veterans here we got,
That's great. That's great.
We need to get involved.
Like the caller said, you're a great American. You're tireless when it comes to putting yourself out there and you're taking care of the veterans and educating people. You're just an amazing guy, Mr. Ermey, and it's a pleasure to talk to you. Good luck with everything you're doing. The new mail call, I guess, some of the older episodes available on DVD at history.com, and a whole new season revamped a bit. Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, first part of the year. We're talking March or April. The new show will be coming out, so everybody needs to tune in. Give me a shot at it. Give me a chance, okay?
Absolutely.
I bet you'll like it. We'll hook you up. And Semper Fi, guys. God bless you.
Thank you.
Semper Fi, Mr. Ermey.
Have a great rest of the day, boys.
Hoorah!
Take care of yourself.
Absolutely. Bye now.
Bye-bye.
There he goes. God damn.
Yeah.
That guy's amazing, isn't he?
Of course he is.
Guy's just... And you know what it is? You know what's also great about him? He goes to the USO. He visits the troops everywhere. And they treat that guy like he is still a Marine and still like their drill sergeant. He's like a father figure to these Marines. I've seen shows where he shows up at bases and they all got smiles on their face. They want to talk to him, They want to be around this guy.
My dad loves him. My dad was in the Marine Corps. My dad was a drill sergeant in the Army. He loves Arlie Ermey because he represents him like a man. He's like a real man's representation of...
He is. He's like the perfect example of what a Marine should be. So when he goes around to all these locations, and he's been over there, he's been to Iraq and hung out with the troops over there, they just have this respect for this guy as a Marine, And it's great to see. And the guy just doesn't stop. he's constantly doing shit for the troops, and he's a fantastic guy, man. And just how entertaining is he to watch and talk when he talks about Full Metal Jacket, just saying some of those lines.
Who fucking knew he was a stand-up comic too, man?
Yeah. That's the last thing you would think Arlie Ermey has done in his career.
Yeah, stand-up.
Being a stand-up comic.
2 Jews walk into a bar, then they occupied it. Fucking Arlie Ermey doing stand-up comedy. An empty boat.
First fucking heckler. Choke yourself.
What the fuck is that? A whoopee cushion.
Holy dog shit.
Because I'm too heavy, sir. Because you do predictable Polish jokes, Private Pile.
Oh, shit.
Oh, I'd fucking give anything to see old stand-up footage of him.
Oh, my God. And that was like right after he got out, I guess. So he was probably all cut up and everything.
Yeah.
Just looking like a Marine.
Salty.
You will laugh at me. Oh, shit. Okay.
He must have been a treat. A treat.
Yeah. Well, there he goes. He's doing his take a vet to school day. Jesus.
This will be our animated section about the My Lai Massacre. Notice the little girl running after Agent Orange has been on her back. We put in a funny voice. That little photo.
the little Fook girl running down the street with napalm on her back.
Now, third graders, this is Bugs Bunny throwing a hat into a helicopter on Apocalypse Now. Watch the soldier burn.
Oh, that pontoon up her ass.
How fucking great is that he was in Apocalypse Now? He was.
I'm gonna have to pop that on now to at least get a good screen cap of that one.
And I remember the scene. It was the guy shot the bridge, and Duvall went, good shot. Oh, you a case of beer for that one. I think that was the case of beer for that one shot.
Yeah, it was right in front of a vehicle, and the vehicle just kind of launches up in the air and flies into the water.
Who knew that was him?
He's been in every war movie. Who are we kidding?
It's funny that they didn't like fucking. They didn't like Full Metal Jacket. I mean, Apocalypse Now, 'cause they thought it portrayed the fucking soldiers as druggies.
Yeah,
and fuck ups.
It was a weird time for Vietnam movies back then when that came out, when Apocalypse first came out, because it wasn't really like any Vietnam movie. Everyone was fucked up. There wasn't any people that ever got through it and kind of just moved on with their lives. Everyone was portrayed as being fucked up. So that movie, everyone was fucked up. They were on drugs. No one knew who was in charge. Who's in charge? I don't know. I thought you were. On the bridge, they're yelling at each other and just firing into the air. But and then after a while, with like Full Metal Jacket, they kind of started getting into where it was just another war, and there were people that got fucked up, but people that made it through, and it made it a little more realistic. And then Platoon, the same thing,
Platoon was fucking great, but my favorite part of Apocalypse Now is the last half hour when Brando is just fatting in the shadows, and the critics hate it, but it just made me so. This obese man is just improving, and they're filming it. This is great. Big fatso,
fat load of shit.
Refused to do anything to help Coppola, who revived him. Ungrateful fat cunt breaking down the door to eat ice cream. Jesus Christ. Coppola, they didn't want him for The Godfather. They wanted no part of him. They would have rather have cast fucking Eric Nagel as The Godfather. Fucking Warner Brothers. They wanted no part of Brando. Coppola makes them put him in.
Yeah.
And he sticks it right down Coppola's throat in Apocalypse Now.
He's
by refusing to be helpful.
Total douche.
What an asshole. Fucking what an asshole.
It just that. Well, I guess the vets don't like it though because it doesn't really. It's not realistic.
Right.
It's sort of a weird psychedelic version of what you think that war would be. But the ones then they started getting as the war got further away and they got more info and you saw that these guys were came back. Some of them became owners of businesses and shit. Then it kind of became more realistic.
Yeah.
And I think Platoon was probably one of the best Vietnam movies made as far as realism goes. I think
my favorite moment in Platoon, besides Sergeant Barnes, is when fucking Keith David is fucking saying that Charlie Sheen's a crusader, and he goes, "Rich always fucking over the poor, always has, always will."
Yeah.
I love that. The finest actor. Makes me very happy.
Yeah.
All right, well, movie quotes. I have
Yep.
to tinkle.